Well, hello there, my name is Scott Ree of the Scott Ree Project, and today I want to show you how I deal with a wonderful haunch of venison. So what I've got here then is a whole set of legs which I've taken off the carcass. The first job we're going to do is split these in half so we can work on them separately. So today I'm going to be using a 12-inch steak knife and a 5-inch boning knife, and of course the good old meat saw. So easy, get your knife in just through the centre, and we want to pick up the backbone down to the tail, and just with our saw gently, not too much pressure, saw through to split them. Now doing it this way will make it a lot easier to work on as we begin the boning process. So what have we got? One whole leg, as you can see, split through the pelvic bone and the tail, and that obviously is the haunch there, our top side, our silver side, our thick flank. We've got a shank here, lovely shank, and then here is what we call the chump. It's basically the equivalent of rump steak. So to start with, just trim off that flap. If you put one finger by the pelvic bone, put your knife there, slightly angle it towards the tail and just cut through again with our saw. And as soon as you've gone through the bone, the pitch will change. Stop, go to your knife and cut through, and that gives you that lovely rump. So next, one of my favourite cuts is the shank. If you can see there, there's just a little bit of movement. That's the patella, the knee joint in there. So just feel for it with your knife. Through, nice and square, across. We take off that shank, so through that Achilles. Holding it, saw, can be quite difficult to hold. Get a firm grip. Beautiful. Let's get rid of that bone dust. Through. About 2 or 3 inches down. Scraping with the heel of your knife. As you can see, that membrane is coming away. Cut through that, any stragglers, and then we pull that off. And that gives us those lovely venison shanks. So just taking out any blood meat, any fat, any vessels, point of your knife, and you can see part of the pelvic bone there. Just with the tip of your knife, just follow the bone down. It's almost like a quarter of a circle, as you can see. I'm going round and down. Always move the meat to you, don't get dancing round it. We just take it off the bone like that, and we're left with that lovely rump. So we can square that off. We can deal with that later. So on to the star of the show then. We've got what we call in the trade the H bone, the hip bone. Quite an odd shaped bone, but again, just the tip of your knife. Start it off. Now this has actually got a ball and socket joint where the femur goes into the pelvis. So just nice and gentle. And if you can see in there, you'll expose the ball and socket. So get the point of your knife in. Nice and gentle. Pushing away with the other hand as it comes free. And then just gently follow the bone down. And then cut it off. So our haunch then is made up of 3 subprimals. You've got the wonderful top side sits there. The thick flank or the knuckle sits there. You can almost see that. And then across the bottom we have our silver sides. Now we can leave it on the bone or we can take the bone out completely. But what I like to do is to break these down into mini roasting joints. They're more user friendly, more cook friendly. You haven't got to cook a big hulking haunch. You can take these joints off, tie them up, and they cook real quick. Absolutely great way to do a haunch of venison, because if you weigh it up really, each of these subprimals would cook at different times, so it makes sense. Take them off, keep them whole, and roast them that way. So to start with then, we want to take the top side off and the thick flank. Now it's pretty much got a road map. As you can see there, that is the seam we are going along. So just start the seam off. I know it looks a little bit invisible, but what we're going to do is we're going to go down until we hit that femur, that thigh bone. You may just see it appearing now. Again, always just with the tip of the knife. No pressure, especially with venison, you don't need it. So just breaking through. Just follow it. Nice and gentle. And then you will hit the natural seam in there. So we can continue our cut, and that gives us subprimal number 1, the flank, and then onto the rest. Nice and simple, easy bone to take out. The femur, and that leaves us with our top side and our silver side connected. So what you need to do is, if you just gently with your fingers a bit of help from the knife, just separate it. So there wasn't actually not a lot of knife work involved there. We basically pulled that apart. So I will show you that again on the other side. So our top side sits there, our silver side's there. So if you can imagine, that is your top side. Turn it over, there is your seam. You can actually go there just to help you along if you want. So think of that top side, so get your hands in, get your fingers in, just gently ease it along like before. Just cut through there, and then here you can see where it's just hanging on. So that's our silver side, that's the salmon cut. So just easing it, and it's joining that cut I made on the outer. And there we go again. Silver side, top side, and flank. Now what we need to do then is we'll work on these individually. It's entirely up to you. You can keep these whole as mini roasting joints, but I like to get these prepared for roasting and then get wonderful prime steaks out of the top side. So as you can imagine then, that doesn't need a lot of work doing to it. One beautiful solid muscle. Always square stuff off, nice and neat. You can get the tip of your knife in under there, just get rid of that skin. Nice and simple. Then with our steak knife, not too thick, we can cut our steaks. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. What I like to do is just turn that over. Now you'll notice there's a bit of a flap there. Now it's entirely up to you. You can take that off or leave it on. I'm going to take it off. It just tidies that steak up a bit. And then same with this one. That obviously goes into mince, no waste. It can even go for tacos or chili fajitas, because that's a real prime piece of meat. So just into matchsticks, be wonderful in a little stroganoff. So absolutely no waste. So next I'm going to work on one of my favourites, the thick flank or the knuckle. So what we need to do first is get rid of the kneecap, the patella. Very simple. Hold it just straight down. We can trim the meat off that, go into sausages, burgers, mince, whatever. But yeah, this is one of my favourites. Now in America this is called the football roast. We just got to do a little bit more work to it, but it is an absolutely cracking piece of meat. So what we need to do then, real simple with this, is just get your thumb and your finger in, just taking off that muscle, nice and gentle. That's a beauty with venison. You can almost do the butchery with your fingers. Of course that won't go to waste, that will go in trim, and basically just square it up. Wonderful cut of meat. So this doesn't really need a lot doing to it now, just a few strings, or if you can get them, these wonderful poultry bands. Just makes it super quick to do. Get these online, and that to me is one of the best little roasting joints. Just squaring it off just to make it look super neat. But yeah, what a wonderful little thing that is. Finally then, we are on to the silver side. Basically, it's just a tidy up job. So take that muscle out there, just skimming that fat off. And this silver side is made up of 2 muscles. We got the flat, and in there we have the salmon cut. I've got 2. I'm going to show you what I do. There's not a lot in it. Just with the tip of the knife, taking that off. Little bit of silver skin in there. Nice sharp knife, as you can see, just down. Not too deep. Take that off, and then we just need to get rid of that silver skin there. So with the knife, again, no pressure, just tracing along the top of that silver skin until it falls away, and then we take it off. Again, always tidying up, so square it off, and there we have another cracking little mini roast. Good old poultry bands, again, just to hold it in place so it cooks nice and even. And with the next one, I'll show you how we take the salmon cut off. You could cook that as you would a steak, treat it as you would maybe a little bit of fillet steak. It's nice and soft, nice and tender. Put one on there and get one on the end. Just move them along, square them up, square that off. That can go into the stew. Wonderful. So the next one then, same as before, tip of the knife, take out that, what they call the mouse's ear. Taking that bit of fat off in between the flat and the salmon cut. Then the salmon cut basically has got its own seam, so just using your finger, and if you need to help it along you can with your knife. Just take that fat off. So you've got a lovely little cut of meat there. Wonderful. And then back on the silver skin on the other, nice and gentle. As you can see, my knife's pointing outwards. Get rid of that. Hard to grip with these gloves. And then gently again across the top of that silver skin. Square it up. Now you can band that again with the poultry bands or some string, or you could actually cut it in half and have it as two decent parvees. Isn't that wonderful? Right, all that remains then is all the trim needs to be sorted out. So any that you can dice for a stew, any you can do for stroganoff, or you can just bang it all in for mincing, for burgers, sausages, lasagnas, ragouts, whatever your heart desires. So just take your time, go through it, and then we can have a look at what we got out of this set of haunches. Okay then, not a bad haul at all from those two legs. So starting here then, we got all our minced trim, a lovely little, I imagine about a pound of diced casserole stews, the lovely top sides. We staked 8 gorgeous steaks. Those rumps I've left whole. You could roast them as mini roasting joints or cut them into steaks. Here we have that little salmon cut, which could go with those. Treat it as you would a steak. The one silver side we rolled, the other we cut in half for 2 parvees. Put some colour on them in the pan, get them in the oven. Beautiful. Then we got our 2 thick flanks or football roasts, and then 2 glorious shanks at the end. It really is amazing what you can get out of your 2 haunches with just a little bit of time, a little bit of care. So I hope you found that useful, and see you again. Take care.